Well, it is great to see everyone. Is this loud enough? Can you hear me? All right. I'm getting thumbs up. I don't know if that means make it louder or we can hear you, but all right. Louder. All right. Andy, make it louder. Well, it's great to see everyone. All right, there we go. For our spring 2024 Convocation, thank you to Shook for designing such a great logo slide for us. Thanks as well to our trustees who are able to join us this morning. I know we have several traveling, but we have Trustee Wandine Traynor with us. Trustee Crystal Martinez is with us. And our new board president, Trustee Suzanne Crow, is with us. Thank you for being here and all of your support for the college. Well, this Monday was Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I know that a lot of us reflect on his legacy, and one of the things that, one of his lesser-known quotes, but one that ties to education that I think really resonates with me and the work that we do, is he said, "Education must enable one to sift and weigh evidence, to discern the true from the false, the real from the unreal, the facts from the fiction." And perhaps today more than ever, that is a very important role of education. And we are all in the role of education and play an incredible and incredibly important role as Marin's Community College. We are the community's college. We are the public higher education in Marin. So we have a lot on our plates. We have a lot to accomplish, and we have a lot to be proud of in all of the work that all of you do on a daily basis to support our students, current, past, and future. Yesterday in this room, there were about 60 leaders. Raise your hand if you were here yesterday. All right, those were folks who were in the room. We had representatives from each of our senates, from our unions, from Participatory Governance Committee, our department chairs, and others. And we gathered here to talk about the future of the college, much as we're going to do today. So as a little preview for what's going to come up in a few minutes, you all are going to get to contribute to thinking about the future of the college, building on all of the great work that is happening and has happened, and thinking about where we want to be as we head into our centennial and beyond. And yesterday, folks talked about the values that drive the college forward, what we might think about as long-range, big-picture, thematic goals, and what might stand in our way to get there. Yesterday we used Post-it notes for that. You can advance the slide. And you can see some of the things that the folks in the room came up with. So today, later on, you're going to use your program to participate in a similar activity that is based on a synthesis of what the folks yesterday came up with. You can go to the next one. Now, we were low-tech yesterday, but today we're going to be high-tech. So we're going to get you into groups. You're going to have some discussions. And then we will have a QR code up here, and one person from the group will be able to take your consensus thoughts from your group, and we'll be able to actually see it in real time. There'll be more on that later, and explain to everyone how that will work. So, next slide. As we go about our work on a daily basis, and as we go about our thinking today about where we want to go next, I just want to ground us in the college's mission, which is to provide equitable opportunities and foster success for all members of our diverse community. It's pretty straightforward. We can remember it, and I think on a daily basis we do a pretty good job of living it. As we move forward, we're about at the point in time where we need to revisit the mission, either to verify that this still feels right or to amend it or augment it based on where we think we want to go. And I'll talk a little bit more in a minute about that process. We also, as a college, have defined equity. We've defined it as recognizing the historical and systemic disparities in opportunity and in outcomes, and directing resources to address those disparities. Now, I think overall we do a pretty good job of that. We've been living that in very intentional ways. We've been directing a lot of resources toward addressing disparate outcomes. We still have disparate outcomes in some areas. We all have to take ownership for that, but we're doing the right things to advance the cause. But a lot of the disparity in opportunity and outcomes, and a lot of that systemic disparity, is a bigger issue. We still know that Marin is inequitable in many ways. But as the community's college, we have the power to impact that, not just for the students who come to us, but in our relationships and partnerships throughout the community and beyond. And to that end, I've been thinking a lot lately about what it means to be an employee of the college. I'm not sure why the lights went down for that and then back up, but maybe that was meant to be an aha moment. But I've been thinking what it means. I've been at the college now for 11 years as of about a week and a half ago. How many of you have worked at the college more than 11 years? That's at least half the room, all right? So I won't ask for a few of you who've been here more than almost half a century, because we have a couple. But regardless of how long we've been at the college, none of us have been here since the start in 1926, and none of us will be here when the college continues on well into its second 100 years. But we are all here now. And none of us have complete ownership over what the college is, or what we do on a daily basis, or how we go about that, but we all have a role to play in that. So as I was thinking about my role and my new role now at the institution, I've been thinking about it in terms of stewardship. So if you are a steward of a place, there's a bit, what comes to mind, a bit of a caretaking aspect to some extent, right? But I did a little research, and there's actually stewardship theory, and some of the tenets of stewardship are that we take responsibility for our roles. And I would say all of us have a leadership role in one form or another. We all have the capacity to take charge of different things we do on a daily basis, make decisions about those things, and make decisions about how we approach those things. And to a large extent, that is leadership. And we take responsibility for our constituents. And I think all of us here would say, if we ask the question, do you care about and want to ensure the success of every one of our students, we would all raise our hands, right? And we also take responsibility for the place. We care about this place. It's a pretty special place. We're fortunate, thanks to the work of the trustees and through the generosity of the taxpayers, to have amazing facilities. We're in a special place. And we have, not just within the place, the physical facilities, but we have the programs and the activities which have been the brainchild and the hard work of so many of you. And then ultimately we hold ourselves and each other accountable. And accountable to what? Well, it goes back to the mission. Are we providing equitable opportunities and fostering success for all members of our diverse community? Are we recognizing the historical and systemic disparities in opportunities and outcomes that a lot of our students face? And are we being intentional about the way in which we address those? So I ask that we think about that just to frame the day and to frame the way we think about the future. So we're going to get into our activity very shortly, but first we have a few introductions to make. So we have some new employees, and I'm not going to make the mistake of trying to control the way we clap for folks, because that led to some odd wording from Dr. Kuhn in the past. Some of you may remember that. What I am going to do is ask that if you are able, each of the people I'm going to name off, if you're here, to please stand and stay standing. And if you need to applaud or whoop and hollow for each of them along the way, that's great. And then at the end, we will applaud for everyone. So, Andrea Guzman from Enrollment Services, she's now an Enrollment Services Associate 2, and that is a promotion. So, Andrea, if you're here. Kevin Lee is our new HVAC Building and Control Engineer. Kevin. Yeah. By the prolonged and volume of that applause, Kevin, no pressure. Karen Monterichard is our new Community Education and Services Program Specialist. Many of you know and have been fortunate to get help from Christian Moreno, who is now promoted into the Technology Support Specialist 2 in IT. And Suad Vila is our new Health and Safety Program Coordinator. We have a series of faculty as well. So Sheila Bear is a new part-time English instructor. Sheila, welcome. Janet Christensen is teaching for us now in ESL Foundational Skills. Kevin Davis in biology. Tammy Davis, who retired recently, has returned as a part-time nursing instructor. Just when she thought she was out, we pulled her back in. Bethany Del Lima in the library. Cassie Dickman in broadcast and digital journalism. Avi Fernandez has joined us in counseling, and some of you, Avi is also returning. Avi was one of our early Compass coordinators back in the day. Catherine Forrest, also teaching in ESL Foundational Skills. Danielle Hone in the library. Jamie Joseph in English. Sean Kaiser in electronics technology. Ana Rodas in Spanish. Ann Weinstock in nursing. And Marjorie Wint in chemistry. So let's give them all another big round of applause. There was another name on the list, and I'll just say that I am very thankful to be able to be at the college and in this new role, and truly appreciate the support that so many of you have given me over my time at the college and also in the last few months, and just very excited to be able to help all of you accomplish all the great things that lie on the horizon. So, just a couple of updates, because I'm sure folks are curious. You've probably been hearing a fair amount about the state budget, and there is a state budget shortfall. But while that's concerning, Governor Newsom's proposed budget doesn't pose any significant or immediate threats to basic aid districts' revenue, either local property tax or categorical program funds. Now that said, the future is a little cloudy, and we get mixed signals. The economy nationally is very strong. We'll see how California fares over the next year to 3 years. But our planning and resource allocation process needs to be very thoughtful and very thoughtfully undertaken to ensure we don't have significant issues or surprises in upcoming years. So I know the folks in fiscal services, Arissa Pooch, Tony Clark, and others will provide regular updates. We've discussed making sure that we all get regular updates throughout this semester and the years to come on our budget, so we are well informed about where we are as we make decisions about the future. Good news with enrollment, we are still trending up again this semester, both in credit and non-credit enrollment. We project to be about 5% higher than last year at this time, which will allow us to fully recoup any lost enrollment over the course of the pandemic, which is a good milestone to reach. Our ESL enrollment is at an all-time high. In fact, we are 25% beyond our previous all-time high in ESL enrollment. I had lunch a week and a half ago with Omar Carrera, the CEO of Canal Alliance, and Omar said something to me that I know, but sometimes forget, and that is that English instruction for a lot of our residents locally here is the foundation for workforce development. So if we think about it in those terms, it's the foundation for access to all of our other programs, certificate programs, transfer programs, four-year degrees and beyond. And in support of all of these students, I really want to thank Ugo, Guillen and John Hornack and Mia Robertshaw and others who worked hard over the last year. Also, Kristen Perrone and Caitlin Escobar in counseling for pushing on certain issues to help our undocumented students. We now have in our policies and procedures that any undocumented student can actually take 6 units of credit coursework for in-state tuition. And not all or not even many community colleges in the state do that. So I think that's another way that we can help encourage all of our students, all members of our diverse community, to reach further and further and to help them reach their educational goals. And just as a reminder on enrollment, the more we can do to increase enrollment now, the more shielded we'll be in the upcoming years, because we do anticipate nationally a demographic downturn in enrollment across all community colleges. So ultimately for us, the true test of whether we have enough enrollment is, are we meeting the educational needs of Marin County? And that's a tough question to answer. And the only way we can answer that is to really understand and ask what the needs are and then be as responsive as possible to those. You're probably wondering why I'm talking about budget enrollment when we've got this picture up here. But this is a picture that I took on the site of the LRC project just last week. The good news is it's on budget and it's on schedule. The not so good news is, well, the great news is that we're going to start seeing the building actually rise out of the ground. So there's going to be steel framing starting, and that'll take about 7 months. The downside of that is it's going to be rather noisy, from what I understand. So, and a different type of noise than what we've become accustomed to with the project thus far. So I want to thank everyone for your patience with the noise and the dust and the other things. That will be continuing and escalating to some extent. But we will be seeing much more progress. So instead of a hole in the ground that was all dirt and then a hole in the ground that is covered in concrete, we'll now start seeing an actual structure. I would also like to let everyone, some of you probably know this if you were at Dr. Kuhn's retirement party, but we are preparing, we are going through the right processes now that either at the February or at the March board meeting, be taking to the board a resolution to name the LRC the Dr. David Wayne Kuhn Center for Student Success. So we can then start getting in the habit of deciding what acronym or what shortened name we want to use with that rather than LRC. I also want to give an update on our process to develop a land acknowledgement. This has been a long process, and I know that Dr. Kuhn said that he had hoped to get this across the finish line before he retired. But we've got a number of folks who've been working on this, and particularly want to thank Nicole Cruz and Angela Olmanson and others who've been trying to shepherd this through in the right way with our local tribal leaders. But we are working on this in collaboration, and I'll be reaching out to them and setting up another meeting within the week. And the goal is to have a land acknowledgement created and approved by the board by the end of this coming summer 2024. Now, following approval of the land acknowledgement by the board, we will share it with the campus community, including opportunities for education on when and where to use the land acknowledgement statement. We are committed to it not being a formulaic recitation, but rather making sure that we are approaching it intentionally and helping statements like this move beyond performance and towards substantive, sustained partnership. So again, thank you to all those who are involved in that, and we will be bringing forth more information regularly throughout the spring and into the summer. Now, I would like to highlight a particular program that the board was able to get a presentation from just 2 nights ago. Would really like to thank Chanel and Susan and Becky and so many others for their work to develop the Rising Scholars Program. And this is for justice-involved students, students who've been incarcerated, students who've been in the justice system. This group is growing and growing, and thanks in large part to the dogged determination of Susan Rahman, our faculty member in behavioral sciences, and many others. We have received grant funding. We now have support through the Chancellor's Office, and we just received a $1.5 million grant to advance this work to help more students more formerly incarcerated students become students. I would also say, too, that faculty, there is a call, and I would encourage you to apply for the call to work with students in the juvenile hall. Susan has all the details on that. You can find it online as well. But I will say that a lot of our students in the Rising Scholars program are now going back into juvenile hall, sharing their experiences and helping those youth make different life decisions and find ways out of the justice system and into education. Now finally, before we get to our activity, I've got a little something I want to share. So the 2024 Library Excellence in Access and Diversity Award winners have been announced by Insight into Diversity. Now 56 institutions out of over 3,000 colleges and universities in the country, including Ohio State, Purdue, the University of Oregon, Emory, Brandeis, and others, have been recognized for their academic libraries, program and initiatives that encourage and support diversity, equity, and inclusion across their campuses. Well, I'm pleased to share that one of those 56 institutions is College of Marin. So let's show our support and gratitude for our library faculty and staff. We can do better than that for them. You think about all that the library does to lead the Common Read and support our learning communities and be out for everything and all of the LibGuides and everything else. Let's give them a real round of applause for all of their work. All right. Okay, so now we're going to share a little timeline. As you know, as you may know, you may not know, but April 6th, 2026 will be the official actual date of the centennial of the College of Marin. So we're going to take a little look through time of the first 98 years to get us in the mood for thinking about the college's future. All right? So, the college was founded, and in the 1920s, travel in the U.S. was primarily by train, bus, ferry, and also automobiles. I would say that one of the things that we look at moving forward, and one of the themes I've heard about from a lot of students, is that transportation continues to be an issue for them, not just to get to and from the college, but also to get around where they need to be. Transportation is also an issue as it relates to our climate change issues and also climate justice. And I think that single occupant vehicle traffic to and from our campuses is one of the things that we need to sort out in the coming years to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. If we move ahead to the 1930s, College of Marin receives charter as an AGS chapter. We've been that for a very long time. And of course, we're older than the Golden Gate Bridge. And by my math, which the folks in the room yesterday know is very suspect, we are the 23rd oldest community college in California. So the 1940s, of course, brought World War II and then the GI Bill. Marin City was founded during World War II to provide housing for folks as they worked in the shipyards. And Marin Junior College in 1948 changed our name to College of Marin. And if you go into Fusselman Hall, into the stacks, into what is the temporary library that used to also be the library, if you look up in the rafters, you can see MJC for Marin Junior College. So then we go to the 1950s. Silicon Valley starts emerging, and College of Marin acquired Bolinas Field Station. And here we are, 60 years later, redeveloping the Bolinas site. 1960s. The Bay Area and at the college, if you look back at the school newspaper, we were at the epicenter of social justice activism during the civil rights movement. We also had a flood and apparently water skiing on the Kentfield campus. Our famed drama program and our amazing nursing program were begun. And then in the 1970s, we know that Indian Valley College has opened. And in 1975 moved to this current location. Get ahead to the 1980s, the pinnacle of those of us who are Gen X. We have our alum Don Barksdale, who founded Save High School Sports Foundation. automotive technology program won a Governor's Award in Excellence. And then, of course, there was the earthquake. In the 1990s, lots of growth in the technology sector. And of course, our own Betty Gerke is the editor of Uncovering the Past at College of Marin, which is a phenomenal book. Next, in the 2000s, obviously, we start really getting into the impact on personal technology. Kay Ryan was appointed the U.S. Poet Laureate, and we launched a solar panel certificate program. In the 2010s, you can see that there's more of a focus on things such as clean energy. We have organic farming. Our organic farm starts up, and we joined MCE Deep Green, so trying to switch to renewable energy. And then finally, as we hit the 2020s, some of us may remember March 13th of 2020, and of course, academic influence ranked us the #1 college in California. So that's our first, gives you a sense over our first 98 years. And if you think about it, you know, transportation, housing, sustainability, the climate, social justice, these are all things that are issues today, and they've all been woven throughout our history and the history of the region. So as we think about the future, and we think about our role as the community's college, we have an opportunity to consider what role might we play in partnership with others, in support of our mission, and in support of making change and innovation. Our centennial is really, it creates a moment in time for us. It isn't about, well, it is about, you know, a party, a celebration, but it's really about taking the 25-26 academic year and shining a light on all of the accomplishments the college has had, the impact we have for our community, the good we do, and the prospect for what we can do moving ahead. And if we do that right, and we engage alums, and we engage the community in that process, then as we think about what we want to do in the 10 years beyond, as we launch into our second 100 years, we'll have the community support we need to do whatever those things are, because they will resonate with the community and they will resonate with our values. So, this is why we need to begin today to start thinking about how we want to intentionally design the way in which our future will unfold. And that's where the activities come in. So I'm going to invite Kara Kreit to come to the stage. And while she comes to the stage, I just want to say this. The centennial is going to unfold as the Center for Student Success opens and we wind down the bond program. It will also coincide with the start of our next educational master plan and then the follow-up strategic plan. So we have a confluence of opportunities before us to really think big, to think strategically, and to think about how we want to steward this place so that as we pass it off to whoever comes next, into our roles, whoever our students are next, and whatever the community needs are next, that we really are leaving this place better than we found it, and really positioned to be of meaningful influence in the community and beyond. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kara to introduce the folks who are going to introduce how we're going to go through the activities. So the rest of Convocation is going to be all about all of you interacting. But we're also going to make sure that you don't just sit with the people you already know, but this is a chance to get to know some new folks, to interact with folks you don't typically get to interact with. So there's going to be a lot of movement up front, but then in your groups of 3 to 4, once you latch on to each other, we're going to lead you through some important conversations, and you're going to provide input that we'll be able to see up here on the screen. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kara. Kara, thank you also for your work in supporting, come on up, Professional Learning Committee and all of Flex Week and everything else.
All right. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Professional Learning Committee, I want to welcome you to Spring 2024 Convocation Day. I'm excited to see everyone here. And thank you all for your participation overall in Flex activities this week. I have a few quick announcements, and then I'm going to turn it over to some colleagues to lead you through a set of activities today. In front of you, you have a program, and on the front is a QR code. Please take a moment or have a table mate do this and sign yourself in to let us know that you're here. This will also allow you to let us know that you're coming to the UPM meeting or the academic department meetings this afternoon if you're joining us for those. We'll be marking attendance based on that in ProLearning. On the back of the program, you will find another QR code. This is to give you access to resources from Convocation today. We're going to be videotaping this. We're also going to be posting charts, word clouds, things that are going to come out of the discussion today from the activities. So as Jonathan mentioned, the theme today is reflecting back on COM's history and the timeline that he just shared as we approach the centennial, and looking forward into the future of the college and prioritizing doing it as a full college community today in discussion to really look at shared values that we're bringing to COM, identifying the long-term goals and prioritizing those as an institution going forward, and how to overcome some of the obstacles that might stand in our way of achieving those goals. So to that end, we're going to go through 3 activities today in small groups. If you were here at the leadership convening yesterday, these will look familiar to you. We'll be spending about 20 minutes on each activity, and the activities are actually laid out on the inside of the program. So you can turn to those. So in just a minute, we're going to be asking you to split into groups of 3 to 4 at your tables, or to join us if you are standing on the sides. And our one request is to make sure there is at least one person in your group that you don't already know, whether that means changing tables or turning around, whatever it is, so that we can mix things up a little bit. And so for each activity that we're going to do, you'll be first discussing the question or questions together in a group of 3 or 4. And then towards the end of 20 minutes, we're going to be putting up a QR code on the screen and asking one person in your group to contribute your group's ideas. We're going to be using Mentimeter, which means that it's going to be projected up on the screen. So you'll get to see what people are discussing in real time. So just as a recap, we're going to do 3 tasks. You want 3 or 4 in your group. We'll give you about 20 minutes to talk about each activity, and then we'll ask you to have one person, same person each time, QR code in your group's ideas, and again, we'll be projecting it in real time. So before you move, for activity number 1, we're going to be looking at personal and institutional values. And I'm going to turn it over to Alex Jacomo, who is the admin assistant for Allied Health and also a nursing student at COM, to help set the stage for that activity. So Alex, I'm going to have you come on up.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see all of you. I would like to, before we start, again, encourage those folks standing on the wall or standing in the corners to try to flow in and try to find spaces in the tables. I see, from my point of view, I can see plenty down here, so that would be my request. But let's get this started. Starting off this activity, I would like you all to reflect and think about the values that you bring to work every day. In the space below, you're gonna note down a few words and reflect on those values. There could be community, integrity, joy, love. And then after that, I would like you to think about College of Marin's past and present. With that in mind, what institutional values do you associate with College of Marin? And then finally, what do you see in common between your own values and the values that you associate with College of Marin? So I would like y'all to split up into groups of 3 or 4, again, trying to find someone that you may not know or may not work with regularly. take 20 minutes, and then within those groups, try to find a technology liaison that can do the QR codes with their phone.
All right. So if your group has not yet submitted your thoughts, please do so. If your group, take the last minute or so with your group if you've not yet submitted. These have been scrolling through, so there's 96 responses thus far. What we do plan, so Kara mentioned that on the back of your program is yet another QR code. As of tomorrow, that QR code will have the word cloud, the prioritization, it will have the full list of thematic goals, it will have all of the content from what do we need to change as an institution to accomplish those. It will also have some readings and some other materials, and the recording of Convocation will be there as well. My hope is that moving forward, we will all be able to reflect on how each of these elements and each of the things we discussed in the 3 tasks today impacts our work, but not just how we are impacted by them, but what can we do? What internal locus of control do we sense where we can be change agents within the institution and with our partners and beyond. And I would ask that all of you see yourselves in that way, that we are all change agents within our spheres of influence. So as this wraps up, I just want to let's offer another big thanks to Alexander, Sungji, Becca, and Kara. I also a big thanks to Patty France, in English, because Patty, that's right, you don't even know why you're applauding Patty, but you don't need a reason. We'll just applaud Patty for applauding Patty. Patty's the one who, I think if any of you are interested, whether it be in your classroom or otherwise, in using Mentimeter, which is what we've used today to collect this input, I understand Patty uses it regularly. She may or may not consider herself a guru, but I'm sure she'd be happy to talk with you about that. And this is a fun way to engage folks and to get some real-time feedback. If you remember, years ago, everyone had to be given a clicker to do this. Now we all have our phones and we're able to do it differently. So as we wrap up today, what are the next steps? Right? Because I know that one of the things that we always hear is, well, we talk a lot, but then what happens? So again, this isn't an outcome. We didn't just decide things and we're going to go start doing things. This is part of an initial sense of where are we as a college? Are we all on the same page? Do we have divergent views, values? Do we have different ideas of where we ought to put our resources? We got a really good sense today. Equity at the core. If you look at the word cloud, equity at the core, community, accessibility, with all of these other really important values surrounding and holding those together. We know that those then were reflected very well in the prioritization of those big thematic ideas, each of which is not an island unto itself. If we want to prioritize one of those 6, all the others intertwine with that in different ways. So we have to be thoughtful. I mean, if we want to engage in system change, if we want to engage in larger discussions and make real impact, that only happens if we look at things holistically and then identify where are those things that can really have the greatest impact. So all of this information will be put back out for the campus community. Yesterday, I also asked the leaders of our senates, our unions, our department chairs, participatory governance committee leaders, and others to take all of this information and make sure that the values, the big picture goals, the big challenges we face are at the forefront of what we're discussing. Because if we aren't talking about the important things, we'll never be able to accomplish great things. In February, the board will have a retreat, and I'll be bringing all of this information to the board as well. so that they can reflect on these things, offer input, but also get a sense of what role they may need to play at a governance level in supporting our work to accomplish these things. And as I mentioned before, we're heading into the development of our next educational master plan. Now that's at least a 6-year overarching plan that says, what do we really want to hang our hats on with where we go? This is a great start, but ultimately we will all be engaged significantly through our Planning, Research, and Institutional Effectiveness Office and others over the next year to develop that next plan. And then that next plan will then tell the world as we head into our centennial what we're really committing to as an institution. So it's an exciting time that we all get to be a part of this, and all of you are participating in the ground floor work of that here today. So the board will think about it in February. We will begin a review of our mission, our vision, our values, to start engaging these things in conversation. Right now we have published on our website institutional values that have been there for longer than I've been at the college with virtually no change. Do those match with what we talked about today? That's a great discussion amongst our participatory governance committees as we work toward determining how do we want to align what we say and what we do moving forward. The other thing I want to say is that I promise that we will have regular communication and interaction moving forward. Now, we've had some phenomenal presentations at a lot of convocations. Occasionally, we've had the opportunity for a little bit of discussion during the meeting. We offer breakouts after. This was an attempt to say, well, let's all come into conversation. Let's be more active in these discussions. That doesn't mean every convocation will feel exactly like this, but I certainly welcome your input on what is it that we really want to do to support the work that we do moving forward. Not just with convocation, but with other opportunities for us to convene as a campus. We have community hour on a regular basis. How we choose to use that for important conversations and for fun, quite frankly, is up to us. So I'll be seeking your ideas and your preferences soon in terms of how it is that you get communication from my office and the ways in which we can facilitate that as we move forward. We'll also be engaging our students, our current students. As we head into the centennial, I'm committed to re-engaging our alums. You all know a lot of alums of the college. I have been out in the community recently and met folks who are excited to tell me that they went to college in Marin. And then they know nothing about what we're doing because we aren't communicating with them. And yet they are in the community doing great things and potential partners. So we will talk with our current students. We'll talk with our former students. We'll re-engage our alums around the centennial. And we also, to know that what we think we want to do is right, we'll also need to go out and really talk with those folks who are not yet our students and make sure we know what they really need and what they want out of an experience and how we may need to shift what we do to meet those needs. So all that's very exciting. The good news is we have a really strong, amazing foundation from which to do that work. Not just in terms of the college itself, but the college, 90% of our resources go into the people, and you all are the best resource we have to represent the college moving forward. So with that, there will be more to come very shortly on the centennial, on our planning, on opportunities to engage. I'm also told that we do have golf carts out here for anyone, particularly with mobility issues or needs, who need to get around the campus. At noon today, the United Professors of Marin will be hosting a lunch for faculty in this room. So you're welcome to hang out for a little bit here, but then we'll need everyone to scooch out to reset the room, unless you'd like to help our hardworking facility staff. By the way, let's give them a round of applause for setting all this up. And then I believe all of the departments, certainly the department chairs, know the assigned rooms later this afternoon for department meetings. I would encourage you over the next hour to continue the conversation. If you want to do that in the groups, and hopefully you've met some folks or reacquainted yourself with some folks, or seek out some other people you haven't had a chance to talk with today. It's a great day to wander the campus a little bit before we move on with what comes next. And as far as all of those of us who aren't faculty, we can find our way, hopefully gracefully and in community back to the work that awaits us, wherever that may be, here or at the Kentfield campus. So with all of that, I really want to thank you for your time today, and I look forward to interacting with all of you on all of these and many other things in the weeks, months, and years to come. So thank you.